On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another show. I've always been interested in the idea of precognition, the idea that it's possible to know what the future has in store for us. And I think I have proven that I can do just that, which does prove, if any proof is needed, that time is cyclical, not linear. Because I can tell you exactly what is going to happen sometime next summer. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are going to have a third child. How do I know this? Because the first child was called Archie, after my dog. The second child was called Lily, after my cat. And I have been saying for months that it'd be called Lily because I thought it was funny. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. So now I think I can confidently predict their third child will be called Peanut. Enjoy the show.
I really like the old credits.
You will, I'm sure, have noticed that we have a swish new stage set. Louis and Carl and Graham and Olivia are all responsible for this, and it's very, very nice, and I'm very, very proud of it. And it makes it look much more far out and sophisticated than anything we've had for a long time. So, welcome to the new stage set, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. But the first segment isn't filmed in here with the Swish new stage set. Have I mentioned we have a Swish new stage set? It was filmed in bed the other night, where I discovered something rather interesting about recent British butterfly sightings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long day, and Archie and I have retired to bed. However, I did discover something rather interesting about 10 minutes ago on the always impressive British Butterflies website, which is run by Pete Eales. And that is that there has been a sighting, or a claimed sighting, of a mazarine blue in Hampshire. Well, as anybody worth their salt knows, mazarine blue has been extinct in Britain since round about the turn of the last century, and for there to be one flying around southern England is a remarkable thing indeed. We did report a year or so back about the unofficial rewilding projects being taken on by butterfly and other animal enthusiasts who are playing fast and loose with the terms of wildlife and the Countryside Act, and introducing all sorts of exciting creatures either into or back into realms where they used to live. One of the creatures that Patrick Barkham wrote about was the mazarine blue, and although from memory the rewilding project that was being taken place in secret that Patrick Barkham wrote about was, I think, in Lincolnshire, this does not preclude there being some other rewilding project of the same sort of thing in Hampshire. So it'd be really exciting if there is a possibility that this brilliantly beautiful butterfly may become a British resident again. And I know that I am going to annoy a lot of people by saying this. I don't really care if they arrive in Britain naturally by the way that through population explosions species arrive in new biotopes all the time, or whether they have been brought in by human vectors and they're technically against the law. I don't care. I think it's wonderful that they are here. Now, there's also something else interesting, and this is more likely to be a natural occurrence, but it has just been reported that within the last week or so there have been sightings of the Queen of Spain fritillary in eastern Kent. Now, this is a butterfly that everybody who studies such things reckons is going to be the next butterfly to become a British resident. If you read Patrick Barkham's wonderful book in which he goes to visit all the different types of British butterflies in 1 year, he finished off his momentous 12 months watching a pair of these beautiful butterflies in a courtship dance at a place somewhere in southern England. And the fact that one of these creatures has been photographed in eastern Kent is a very, very promising sign that these beautiful butterflies are going to be colonizing Britain sooner rather than later. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll forgive me for broadcasting from my bedchamber like this, but needs must when the devil does whatever it is the devil does. Peace out. Why, you may ask, when we have a swish new studio set like this, did I record a whole segment in bed? Well, it's simple. I don't bang on about it, but I'm a fairly ill man much of the time, and I'm afraid for increasing periods I am now bedridden. But being bedridden doesn't stop me being interested in the world about us. And so when I discover something that enthuses me, like that story about the two weird British butterflies, I decided it would be more honest to present the story in the way that I found it. I'm afraid that as entropy only goes in one direction, I am likely to become more ill rather than less ill, and so I think you'd better get used to me videoing segments of the show from my bedroom rather than down here in my increasingly swish new stage set.
Some of these objects may be unnatural. Some of these objects may be blasphemous. Some of these objects may be perverse. Some of these objects may turn your stomach. It's show and tell.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a special guest with us this week. He is my old friend and partner in crime, Richard Freeman. Richard, dear boy, I'm now going to be a complete and utterly horrible man here because I'm going to give you something for a show and a tell that Carl Marshall, in a couple of episodes ago, already showed and told, but we reckoned that you probably knew more on the subject. So, here is a box.
Oh. Ah.
Open it up.
This is a box, a musical box, wound up and ready to play. But this musical box holds a secret inside. Can you tell who is in it today?
Well, that's pretty much what I was expecting.
That is a jawbone of some sort of carnivore. It's sculpted in what appears to be insulation foam or something very similar to it.
It is insulation foam. And this is a cast rather than a sculpture.
Oh, there's another one.
It's up and down.
Oh yes, the upper and the lower. There we go. The upper and the lower. And oh, we don't have the rest of the skull. We just have
No,
the
just the jaws.
impression of the jaws. Now it's some sort of carnivorous mammal. We can tell by the differentiated teeth, the shearing carnacerals and the big canines and the chomping incisors. Maybe is it a thylacine?
Yes, you are right.
It's a very small one though.
thylacine.
It's certainly not an adult. That's what threw me for a minute, because an adult thylacine's jaws are much bigger than this. So they look superficially like a dog, but there are more incisors in a thylacine than you'll get in a dog. The dental formula is not quite the same, but overall it's very similar looking.
Is there anything that you can tell? And I'm totally shooting in the dark here, but I don't know, but because I don't know the answer. But is there anything you can tell about the way this thylacine hunted from its teeth?
Well, the bite is not unsimilar to a dog in so much as, or a wolf in so much as, you've got these big stabbing canines and you've got the shearing carnassials at the back. The thylacine had a much more powerful bite than a wolf. It could exert much more pressure than a wolf, although the skull wasn't as well adapted for struggling prey, so it wouldn't bite and hold on. When wolves kill things, they hunt in packs and they'll bite onto their prey and worry it, and often start to eat it while it's still alive. It's a big animal, and they'll hang on. Something like a moose or a bison will hang on to it and start to eat while it's still alive. Thylacines didn't hunt in packs. The Tasmanian wolf hunted alone or sometimes in pairs, and it's thought they killed with one big bite and let the prey hemorrhage to death. So something like a wombat, they'd crunch into it and let the prey bleed out, and of course they could pursue it by following a trail of blood.
Archie says he wants to be a thylacine when he grows up.
Oh, he's going to have a little backward facing pouch to protect his nether regions, aren't you? As he scampers through the Tasmanian forests.
That's one of the better 30 quids that I've spent, isn't it?
What?
Yeah,
Foam thylacine jaws?
Yeah.
Where did you get them from?
eBay. Well, I thought that while we had Richard here, we might as well talk about his expeditions to Tasmania. Richard, you've been to Tasmania 3 times, I believe, now.
Yes, 3 times.
Tell us about what's it like there? What's the terrain like?
Well, when you get into the east of the island, sorry, the west of the island, there's virtually no human population. It's just mountains and forests. The population of Tasmania overall is less than 500,000, and we're talking about an island about as big as the country of Ireland, but with a tiny population. And out in the west, it's just wilderness. The 2 towns, Launceston and Hobart, the two biggest, and they're very small by British standards. Their villages are tiny. The towns are more like villages. The villages are more like hamlets, and then there's massive wilderness areas where nobody goes.
Whereabouts on the island are most of the sightings?
Most of the sightings these days are up in the northwest or the west of the island, and some in the southwest. In earlier days, they were in the northeast, but most of them seem to cluster around the western part of the island these days.
I would surmise that the earlier sightings in the northeast were because that's where there were more people.
Possibly, but also it's been built up. A lot of the northeast, what was wilderness, is now farmland. So it's probably that they're going to less disturbed areas where there are more prey.
It's one of the things that always mildly irritates me when people are talking about prevalence of sightings in a particular area, is that you're going to get less sightings when there are less people to actually see less people to actually sight things.
Yes.
And it's like that that thought experiment thing about if a tree falls down in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a noise? Well, of course it bloody makes a noise, but there's no one to hear it. And so it probably doesn't turn up on anybody's statistics and trees that have fallen down. Tell me about the natural history of the island as it is now.
Well, there are still good populations of most of the animals there. Where we were, the Tasmanian devils, they hadn't suffered from the devil facial tumours. All the ones we saw were perfectly healthy, and there was quite a lot of them. You get grey kangaroos, padamelons, which are little wallabies, Bennett's wallabies, loads of echidnas, and I also saw a duck-billed platypus, which was amazing, in a lake. I got put right close to a platypus, which was great.
I am so jealous because probably the best animal I've ever seen in a zoo was the duck-billed platypus, the breeding pair of duck-billed platypus. Are they platypuses or platypi?
Platypi, I think.
The breeding pair of platypi at the Lone Pine Sanctuary outside Brisbane. And that was back in 1968, many decades ago. But I would cheerfully kill all sorts of people in order to go and see one in the wild. But what about invasive species?
There are cats. Cats are vermin across the island, as they are in so many places. One of the witnesses we spoke to had seen 2 thylacines on different occasions, was actually employed as a government licensed shooter to go out and bag feral cats, and he showed us photographs of the amount of cats he had shot.
Did he say anything about the stories of really big feral cats?
No, he didn't say anything about big feral cats. On Tasmania, there don't seem to be any reports, unlike there are in mainland Australia. But what we did hear from 2 different people were stories of immensely big tiger quolls, much bigger than they should be. One's the size of Queensland healers, which are about the size of a border collie, so much bigger than they should be. The quoll it's another carnivorous mammal. It's vaguely cat-like in shape, but with a more pointed snout. The tiger quoll is about the size of a Scottish wildcat, maybe a tad larger. So these 2 individuals we heard about, one in the Cradle Mountain area and one to the east of that, were much bigger, much bigger, the size of a dog.
Do you think the thylacine has survived? Do you think it's still there now?
yes, I think it's still there now. Its continued existence has been predicted by computer program. So many people have seen it. I've spoken to this government licensed shooter. I've spoken to a park warden who's heard its distinctive triple yap that it makes. Another guy and his wife saw it from a car, and it was running alongside their car, and they had it in view at the side of the road for a very long time. It was a multiple witness case because another car full of people had seen this thing as well. There are so many good reports of this animal. It's not like something like the chupacabra or something like that, which is essentially a media creation. But this is an animal we know existed. It existed until fairly recently. The terrain is still there for it to exist. The prey is still there for it to exist. Dozens and dozens and dozens of eyewitnesses have seen it. There are more and more every year. I think there was one estimate that there was something like 4,000 eyewitness accounts since the time of its supposed extinction. And this isn't taking into account also New Guinea, where the creature is called Dobsonga, and it's supposed to be this striped dog-like animal that comes down from the mountains to kill livestock, and that the hill tribes won't hunt it because it's taboo. But when shown pictures of the thylacine, they say, yeah, that's the animal we saw. So I think the Tasmanian wolf is still with us, and it's been called the healthiest extinct animal you'll ever meet. And I hope to get back out there again sometime. And I think of all the cryptids, the Tasmanian wolf is the one that I most want to see. If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page, and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer and I are telling you, please remember to ring that notification bell. Otherwise you won't be told when we've got another show. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. In fact, I hope you enjoyed it nearly as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Because I have to say that as I get older and more decrepit, the thing I enjoy doing most in the world now is doing these shows. And I'm really chuffed that people like you out there enjoy them and comment and join in the ever-growing community which is built around them. So I'd like to say a big thank you this week to Graham, to Richard, to Archie. Richard and Archie are over there. Wave to the boys and girls, Richard. To Charlotte, to Maxine, and to Sarah, all three of whom are wonderful ladies who do stuff for this show that you would not believe. And above all, I want to say a big thank you to Louis, because if it wasn't for Louis, then we wouldn't be able to put the show out at all. So thank you, Louis, mate. We really appreciate it. Well, this may be it for this week, but you've only got another 7 days to wait, because Saturday afternoon is CFZ on the track time. And next Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, I will be back. And I will be back waving my arms in the air, making silly noises, and telling you all sorts of things, a mixture of hard science, weird shit, and surreal dicking about. So, until then, be seeing you.